I found her on the third morning after the raid, in what was left of the Vorath way station. The slavers had come through 2 days before I arrived. I knew the shape of it without anyone telling me. I had worked that border for 11 years, first in uniform, then not, and a slaver sweep leaves a particular kind of silence behind it. Not the silence of a place emptied by war or plague, quieter than that, more deliberate. The kind of silence that has been sorted through. The way station had been a trading stop on the Selm Canyon Road. 20 structures, of red clay brick, a water cistern, a livestock pen, a modest relay tower still blinking its useless green light into the afternoon heat. Most of the doors stood open. The fire pits were cold. Whatever the Vorath clan had not been able to carry in 2 minutes of running, it had left behind. Grain sacks split and spilling, a child's sandal in the dust, 3 clay water jugs knocked from their shelf, and shattered into pieces that looked, from a distance, like pale flowers. I was there so a caravan merchant named Ossel had hired me to find out whether the road was passable. That was the job. Survey the way station, count the days since the raid, estimate when traffic could resume. I was not there to look for survivors. The guild made that clear every season. Our contracts were for routes, not rescues. I had agreed to that division of labor for a long time. She was in the grain store. The back corner, behind 3 collapsed shelving units that someone had pulled down, deliberately to form a low barrier. She was sitting with her knees drawn to her chest, and a torn canvas feed sack pulled over her shoulders, and she was watching the doorway with eyes the color of Oldsome silver, wide and still. The way small things go still when they are not sure yet whether the shape in the door means safety or the other kind of attention. I stopped in the doorway. I did not move toward her. I had learned that much at least in 11 years, Vessi. That was the species cue, the pale blue of her skin, the faint ridge of cartilage along her jaw, the way her ears angled back and up like a cat's when she was alert. The Vessi were a canyon people, semi-nomadic, loosely attached to the trade routes of the Selm Basin. This settlement had been Vorath clan. She was Vorath, or had been, before the raid sorted the clan into those who ran, and those who were taken. I set my pack down in the doorway, slowly, where she could see it. I sat on the threshold and did not come inside. I had water and a strip of dried salted meat, and a handful of pressed grain cakes that the caravan had given me for the road. I put them on the floor between us, not offered, not pushed forward, placed, and then I sat back and looked at the far wall and waited. It took a long time. The heat shifted. The relay tower blinked. A sand wind moved through the canyon, and left grit on my lips, and made the doorway curtain, what was left of it, shiver against its hook. She took the water first. I did not look at her directly. I kept my eyes on the wall and listened to the small sounds, the cap on the canteen, unscrewing, the pause, the long careful drink of someone who had been thirsty for 2 days and knew enough to go slow. When I finally looked over, she was watching me. She had not touched the food. "My name is Dax," I said. I said it in trade tongue because I did not know the Vorath dialect. "I am not with the ones who came before." She did not answer. Her eyes moved to my hands, the way a child reads an adult's hands before anything else, turned them over and showed her the palms. Nothing in them. After a moment she said something in Vorath that I did not catch. 2 syllables. A statement, not a question. Then she picked up one of the grain cakes and ate it in small, measured bites, not looking away from me. I sent word back to Ossel that the road needed another week. He was not pleased. I did not explain why. The Kelhari were camped 2 ridges east, a pastoral clan who had no love for the Vorath, but no active quarrel with them either. I had done work for Kelhari headman Surath 3 seasons running, found a stolen herd, tracked a water thief. Nothing elegant, just reliable, and he owed me the kind of debt that could be repaid in shelter. I brought the girl to his camp with her canvas sack and what food I had, and I told Surath she was Vorath, and she needed somewhere to be while I tried to find what remained of her clan. Surath's wife, a woman named Ekit, looked at the girl for a long moment, and then looked at me and said, "You cannot find what was taken, Mero." I knew that. I said nothing. They let us both stay. The girl, I learned her name was Isit, and Vorath meant something close to the one who waits, did not speak much. But she watched everything. She watched the Kelhari women work the clay jars. She watched the herd animals at dusk, standing at the edge of the pen with her arms folded, studying them with the gravity of someone tallying a balance sheet. She watched me clean and oil the carbine I carried, following each movement of my hands, and when I was done she pointed at the stock and said, "In careful trade tongue, it is old." "Yes," I said. "Does it still work?" "Yes." She considered that. Then she went back to watching the herd. I want to be precise about what I felt in those days, because I have told this story to myself a number of times, and I am aware of how it sounds. I am not a man who mistakes utility for sentiment. I stayed because the job was unfinished. I had found a survivor, and the survivor had nowhere to go, and I had not yet determined that she was safe. That was the logic I used. It held for about 4 days. On the 5th day she brought me a flat stone she had found at the river bend, smooth and gray-green, and set it on my knee without explanation and walked away. I turned it over in my hands. I did not know what it signified in Vorath custom. I kept it. The slavers came back on the 9th night, 2 of them riding the canyon road, and I heard the animals before I heard anything else. The herd shifting, the low, uneasy sound that prey animals make when something with intent moves near. I was awake by the time the first silhouette appeared at the camp's edge. They were not raiding this time. They were looking for something specific, someone specific. I understood then what the canvas sack meant. She had hidden. They had counted wrong. I told Eket to keep Isit in the back of the supply tent and stay there herself. Eket looked at me with the flat, measuring eyes of a woman who had lived on that border far longer than I had and said nothing. She understood the grammar of what was coming. What I did next I will not recount in detail. This is not that kind of story. I will say that I had 11 years of working that border, and I knew what slavers were and were not prepared to find in a camp where they expected no position. The carbine was old, it still worked. When it was over, the canyon was quiet again. The herd settled. The relay tower, visible from the ridge, blinked its green light into the dark. I came back to the camp, and Eket let me in, and I sat down in the dirt outside the supply tent and felt the weight of the night on me. After a while the tent flap opened and Isit came out and sat beside me. Not close. Foot of space between us. She looked at the ridge where I had gone, and then looked at me, and I could see her reading my hands again, the way she always did. They were clean, I had made sure of that. She reached into the pocket of her tunic and took out a small piece of cord, it blue and gray, worn at the ends. She held it out to me. Not pushed, just offered. I did not know the custom. I took it anyway. Surath told me the next morning, when I asked, that among the Vorath, a cord like that meant something like, "You are counted. You are within the ring of people I will worry about." It was not a formal bond. It was simpler than that. The kind of recognition a child extends when the evidence is finally sufficient. I turned the cord over in my fingers and thought about 11 years of working routes, not rescues, about contracts that specified the division of labor. I tied it around my wrist. Isit watched me do it from across the camp, arms folded, chin lifted, with the expression of someone whose accounting had come out, even. Then she turned and went to watch the herd animals again. As if the matter was settled, it was.